Okay, so let's try this trig equation problem here. And this is interesting because we're dealing with pi here in the angle, as well as we're dealing with the general solution, and here a negative only domain. It's all negative only. So let's play with it. We're going to let theta is equals to the inside part here, which is 2 pi x over 3. And so the question becomes more manageable as it becomes 2 cosine theta is equals to negative 1. We're going to divide both sides by 2. We have cosine theta equals negative 1/2. And this is where we have a regular trig problem, where cosine, the trig is negative, ASTC. Cosine is negative here and here, the opposite of cosland and all land. This is sine land, tan land. It's got to be negative. And the reference angle is going to be cosine inverse of 1/2, which happens to be cosine 60 degrees is the reference angle. So we're talking in radians here. You can see this is pi. We're talking about radians because we see the pi there. So let's count. This here is 30 degrees, or pi over 6, 2 pi over 6, 3 pi over 6, 4 pi over 6. So we're going to say that theta is equals to 4 pi over 6, which is 2 pi over 3 as a possible solution. Or we're going to say theta is equals to not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 pi over 6, which is 4 pi over 3 radians. So this is our two possible answers. Now remember that the original question was asking for x, and we let theta equals this business here. So let's continue on with this and say that 2 pi x over 3 is equals to this over here, 2 pi over 3, and down here we have 2 pi x over 3 is equals to 4 pi over 3. Now look at the coefficient of x here, and look at the coefficient of x here. We can divide both sides by the coefficient to solve for x. So x is equals to 2 pi over 3 divided by 2 pi divided by 3. And down here we have x is equals to this divided by this coefficient. So we're going to divide by 2 pi over 3. Now this is the same thing as multiplying. We had divided by 2 pi over 3. Now we have times 3 over 2 pi. Similarly, when we're dividing by 2 pi over 3, that's the same thing as multiplying by 3 over 2 pi. So as you can see, what's going to happen here is this here is going to cancel out, and so is this, leaving us with x equals 1. And similarly here, we have the 3's canceling out, and the 4 pi divided by 2 pi is going to be 2. So there we have it. We actually solved x. X is equals to 1 is a candidate solution, and so is x equals 2. Now let's graph this on Desmos to see what's going on. So as you can see here, we typed in y equals 2 cosine 2 pi x over 3, y equals negative 1. And what is the solution? The solution indeed is 2 and 1. However, the domain we're interested in is from negative 4 pi to 0. So actually none of these answers are correct. So in order to find, what we just did is we had these answers. In order to find the correct answers, which would be here or here, etc., would be to actually subtract the period. Every period, every full cycle rotation, that's what we're trying to do. Now the question is, what is the period? We know this here is the b value, and just memorize the formula. The period for sine and cosine is equals to 2 pi over b, and by the way, the formula for tan is pi over b, not 2 pi over b, just pi over b. And so what we have is the period for this function here is 2 pi divided by b, and the b value is 2 pi over 3 over here, which is the same thing as 2 pi times 3 over 2 pi. The 2 pi's cancel, and so the period is 3. Every 3 units going sideways, the whole graph repeats. So when we said x equals 1 and 2, and we know that the domain x must be between negative 4 pi and 0, we know that we need to go to the left. So this is going to be 1 minus 3 is going to be equals to negative 2, and you keep on subtracting. So negative 2 minus 3 will be negative 5, we have negative 8, we have negative 11, etc. Now how do we know when to stop? This is where we have to understand that pi is just a number. So what we have here is we have negative 4 pi is equals to negative 12.57-ish. So this is approximately negative 12.57. So you just keep on going. So if I subtract another 3 from negative 11, that's negative 14, we're out of bounds. So negative 2, 5, 8, 11, these are all possible solutions. And when we have 2 minus 3, 2 minus 3 is negative 1. Keep on subtracting 3. The period, we have negative 4, negative 7, negative 10, negative 13. And this here is out of bounds, so these x values are other solutions. So finally, what is the general solution? The general solution, we have x is equals to 1 or x is equals to 2 plus minus something n. And what is that n? That n happens to be the period, which is 3.